Or Dach Yomi, Daf Tes Zayin Amud Dalid. The middle of the Maimer, which is called Lashon Admor Nishmas Leidim Ba'atzmai. The Maimer Alter wrote himself, explaining the idea of garments, of the neshama, and so we explained yesterday about the idea that all the garments from all the Torah mitzvahs from all the Yidden were originally included in Adam Harishon, and through the Cheretz Adas they fell down into Klippa, and through the Torah mitzvahs that we're doing, we're elevating them out from Klippa, and we're making garments for our soul that we should be able to connect to Hashem in general, and specifically to have an understanding of Hashem in Gan Eden. Okay, so in the original Torah, on the Tezayin Madalid, third line from the top. V'hashta asir shapir hadaschar mitzvahs hu levush leneshama. So now it makes sense why the reward for mitzvahs is that you should have a garment for your soul in Gan Eden. Since where do these garments come from? They come from Bina Vatzilus, which is called Olam Haba. Why is it called Olam Haba? Because it's a higher world. After a person passes away, he comes to a world where he has his only understanding of Hashem, has nothing else. So that's called Olam Haba. Even though sometimes when you say Olam Haba, you mean Tichas HaMesim, but in this context, you mean Gan Eden. And since that's the understanding of Hashem, so the Torah and the mitzvahs comes, on a certain sense, from Bina Vatzilus. Right? That's where we have Torah Shabbat Peh and all the things. That's right. That's how we have understanding of Hashem. For this is like, why does a person have to eat? Even because there's the life from Hashem is in the food. So when you eat the food, you get new life. The question is, how the word of Hashem is also giving you life. So why do you have to eat bread? Why is the advantage of bread over you that you have to eat bread in order to receive life from Hashem? If the reason why you get life from Hashem is because the word of Hashem is in the bread, so the word of Hashem is in you also. So why do you have to eat bread? The answer is because in bread and other food it has a higher source. It's coming from Chitzani Sabina, which is higher than Zah, which is the source of Adam, which is the source of a person. Like it says in the Kavanah of eating on Erev Yom Kippur. That's why people are very mahadad to eat a lot on Erev Yom Kippur.
2 hands. With
2 hands, that's right. During the week you only eat with 1 hand. On Erev Yom Kippur you eat with both hands. But that means that the source of the person is from the level called Zera Anpin, and the source of the food is from Chitzoni Sabina, and that's why you get new life from eating food, because the word of Hashem, which in the food, comes from a higher place. The same thing, since the garments of the Torah and the mitzvahs are coming from a higher source than the person, they're coming from Bina of Atzilus. That's why they make a garment for you in Gan Eden. But really, this levush, this garment that's created for your soul, isn't Bina of Atzilus itself. It just creates a garment that you should be able to receive this understanding of Hashem, which is Bina of Atzilus. Since this level of the revelation of Hashem from Bina of Atzilus is only coming through its Nehi, through its the lowest aspect. Pnimi Maki for Pnimi the Mazan, or Maki for Levush. So since it's only coming from the lowest aspect of Bina, it's not Bina itself, it's only a garment that through which you're able to receive an understanding of Hashem and Gan Eden. Just like the creatures that live above, which that's the angels, they can't come down to interact with the physical world unless they have a garment that they should be able to relate to us. Like the Malachim came to eat by Abraham, the 3 guests he had. So too, the ones below us are not able to go above and have this understanding from Hashem, from Bina Vatzilus, without a garment. Like it says in the Zohar, if not for this garment, then the soul would not be able to handle this revelation of Hashem, wouldn't be able to handle this higher level of understanding of Hashem. And that's why somebody that's missing his garments, because he didn't, and which that means that he didn't fix up all the negative inside of him through the Torah and the mitzvahs. So he has to be in Gehenna to fix up that negative aspect, so he should be able to enter Gan Eden.
Was the Lushan before Chetet Tzadas?
Huh?
Lushan before Chetet Tzadas?
They were, but they were a different kind. They were Levush Or, Kasnas Or. There's two, when you say Kasnas Or, garments of leather, so originally, so there's two ways to spell it. Or could be with an ayin or with an aleph. If it's with an aleph, then it means light, garments of light. And if it's with an ayin, it means leather, which is very thick, right? So there's a different kind of garments. But the point is that only when you have complete garments can you go into Gan Eden. Like it says by a submarine, if it doesn't have a complete shell, if it's a little bit missing, they can't go underwater, right? Because the pressure from being underwater will destroy it if it doesn't have a complete garment. So if we don't have the complete garment, then we wouldn't be able to handle the intense revelation of Hashem in Gan Eden. So that's why it has to be complete garments. Somebody's missing his garments, he has to fix it up. What?
Gehenna.
Yeah, Gehenna is where you fix up all those things that need to be fixed up. The when you
Cleaners.
the cleaners, the repair shop, whatever it is. Without that, he can't at all. He can't be in Gan Eden with missing garments. Just like an angel can't come into this world without a complete garment, because he has no way to relate to us. So if we don't have a complete garment, there's no way we could relate to the revelation of Hashem in Gan Eden. Inyan hislabshus, benefesh v'chein hislabshus hanashama beruach, hainu lirid lemat medrigosam, mashkasa b'zohar rakia sham b'shem Rav Chaim Vital Zal. It says in the Zohar a different way of descending, not just to a garments, but that different levels of your neshama could descend by going into a lower level of your own neshama. That neshama could be melubash in ruach, and ruach could be melubash in nefesh. So why do you need all these garments? That's a different kind of descent. That means that in yourself, when you want to go down to one level to another, it's two different levels of your neshama. But to go from one world to another, you need these garments. So Gan Eden Ha'elyon is in Bria. Gan Eden Ha'tachton is in Yetzirah. When Gan Eden Ha'elyon, this understanding of Hashem, that's Bria. So now it makes sense that what we're saying, that 1 minute of Torah mitzvahs in this world is better than all of Olam Haba, which is Olam Habriya, which is a created world, and it's true, it's a very great understanding about Hashem, but it's still a created world, and it's only understanding about Hashem. Whereas through Torah mitzvahs, you're connecting to Atzilus, you're connecting to a level where there's only Hashem, with Iyu v'chayev v'gemar echad, and so that's why it's greater doing Torah mitzvahs for 1 minute than all of Olam Haba. Because what happens when you do Torah mitzvahs is you create a connection between Zeranpin and Malchus of Atzilus, which that means the level of Hashem, the way he comes down to the world, and the way Hashem is higher than relating to the world, to become connected, that Hashem, the way he's higher, should come down to us. And that's happening in Atzilus through the mitzvahs that you're doing, this level, this connection of Hashem in Atzilus coming to us. And through the mitzvahs you draw down this revelation from Hashem, from Atzilus. And the source of the mitzvahs is not only from Atzilus, it's actually from much higher than Atzilus. It's from a level called Mochastima of Archampin, where you have the Yugimel Chivarta de Gugalta. What does that mean? It means just like in a person, he has his brain, and he has his skull, and he has... What is the idea of the skull? The skull means that it covers over the brain, it's higher than the brain. So in a person's soul powers, there's intellect, and then there's will and enjoyment, will and pleasure, which these are encompassing soul powers which are higher than intellect. So that's like the skull which encompasses the brain. So a person's will power and enjoyment power is higher than his intellect. And so Hashem's enjoyment and Hashem's pleasure in our Torah mitzvahs, and Hashem's will of our doing Torah mitzvahs is even higher than his intellect, which that's Chachma Vatzilus. But Hashem's will and Hashem's pleasure is much higher than that, and that's really where Torah mitzvahs is coming from, Hashem's will and pleasure in our Torah mitzvahs. Shorish Hamir, the Shorish Hamir Mochasim Aderech Hampin, Amir Yugim Luchivarta to Gugalta, Shorish Taig Mitzvahs. Vav Misha Ein Allah Nefesh Dasiya. And even if someone only comes from a Nefesh of Asiya, even though his soul is only from the lowest level, from holiness.
Is that most of us?
Which is most of us, yeah, like the Alter Rebbe says. That Harezem Alaman Lamalchus. Yeah, he's saying because the Alter Rebbe himself is a neshama from Chachma Vatzilus, and whatever. But he's saying even somebody like us that he's nefesh dasiyah Harezem Alaman Lamalchus Teitzira b'mitzvaysav. So through his mitzvahs, he makes an elevation from his actions to Malchus of Yitzira. And through the mitzvah you bring it to Malchus of Yitzira. And the level of the ruach of the neshama, the ruach of the tzaddikim, elevate your mitzvahs to Malchus of Bria. And there the level of neshama of the tzaddikim elevate all the turn the mitzvahs to Malchus of Yitzira. So it comes out that through the mitzvahs that you're doing, you're making an elevation to Malchus of Atzilus. And then, through the tzaddikim, yeah. Through the Rabbeinu and Nisinu, through the tzaddikim that exist in all the levels and all the inyanim. And once it's elevated to Atzilus, so then you draw down revelation from Hashem, from Atzilus, and from higher than Atzilus into this world. So through Torah mitzvahs, you're bringing a revelation from Atzilus and higher into this world, which is much greater than Gan Eden. Ki ein shum bir ela b'Atzilus. So how do you know? Because the whole idea of mitzvahs is to make a beer in this world, to elevate and refine this world. And the only way that you could possibly elevate and refine this world is from a level which is completely higher than the world, from Atzilus. Ki ein shum bir ela b'Atzilus, ki hi b'chinas chachma dechlalis. The elevation or refinement of the world is only from Atzilus, because that's called Chachma. Chachma means Koyachma, complete bittul, complete nullification of one's own ego to Hashem, that there's only Hashem. And that's the only way to elevate and refine the world, is through this bittul to Hashem. And that's mainly in Atzilus, which is Bechachma, which is shining, which is Abba Mikanana B'Atzilus. That Atzilus is shining this truth that Hu Levadu Vein Zelasei. The refinement is only through Chachma. And this bir is only through the connection of Zon Malchus. And this ability to draw down to make this connection between Zon Malchus, to draw down from Hashem's essence, can't happen in the created worlds, only in Atzilus. So since only in Atzilus can you have this revelation from Hashem's essence, and this ability to make this beer, so all the mitzvahs that you're doing are connecting to Atzilus. And even though the mitzvahs that he's doing is making, you could say, well, it's only making a garment for a soul of nefesh, for the lowest level of souls, which that's nefesh dasiyah. But nonetheless, this connection that's happening is happening in Atzilus, even though your soul is in nefesh of asiyah. And that's why this level of Zeranpin and Malchus of Atzilus is coming down into the created worlds, into Zeranpin and Nukva of Bri Yitzira and Asiyah, in order to elevate and refine all the worlds during the 6 days. It says, Kisheshis Yamim Asa Hashem, 6 days Hashem made the world. And it says in the Zohar that these refer to the 6 midas of Zah, which through them is making the beer of all the created beings. Yeredes Klezion Datzilus Lasiya, who leads in Koyach Lanefesh Dasiya Lahalas Meklipus. And this, that from Atzilus, it comes down into the created worlds, is in order to give us the power to be elevated out of Klipus. Like it says, that Adam of Atzilus rules over and controls Adam of the created worlds of us, in order to help us get out of the Ra. But the only way that this beer will be complete is with our help. In other words, like it says in the Midrash, that Hashem want to make a partnership with us. So even though Hashem descends through Zah and Malchus of Atzilus into the created worlds, but that beer is only going to completed through our Torah mitzvahs that we're doing. Raksha b'siyua hatachteinim. But it's only through the help of us, which we're the way that we're below, through our mitzvahs, so that which that elevates the Elokus, which was in Klipas Nega. And it's not through our own power that we're able to elevate from Klipas Nega into Elokus and to elevate the Levushim and elevate the whole world. It's through the power from Atzilus, which is coming into us to help us, so that through our actions we should be able to accomplish these great things. And through these actions, it makes an elevation to a Malchus Atzilus. And that's why Atzilus comes into the created worlds during the weekdays. And also gives us the power to be elevated of Klippas. So, in other words, through the Torah and the mitzvahs, we're bringing down from Atzilus into this world. And Hashem himself makes this should happen, both to help us to elevate the world and to help us elevate ourselves from a Klippa. And this
during the week.
Yeah, during the week, the main idea of during the week is to make a beer, is to Asher Bar Lakim Lasais Lasakin, that Hashem made the concealment of himself, that we should overcome it, and that's mainly during the weekdays. Whereas on Shabbos is Vayachal Lakim, that this concealment from Shem Lakim is removed to a certain extent, and that's the Shabbos. The main idea is not beer, but just to draw down from above on a higher level. So now he's asking a question, that if there's really this presence from Atzilus in the created worlds during the whole week, so what's special about Shabbos that we're saying that it's coming into Atzilus? Meaning that during the weekday these certain levels of Zah and Malchus are coming down. So what's special about Shabbos? And not only is there a revelation from Zah and Malchus into the world, but really Or Ein Sof itself is coming down to the world through that, because it says Hashem b'chachma, that Or Ein Sof is in chachma and is in all of Atzilus, and so Or Ein Sof is present here. So what's special about Shabbos? And like it says in the Sefer Shar Gilgulim, that through the actions of Atzilus, the Siyah of Atzilus, which that's Malchus of Atzilus, is infinitely greater than the highest level of Bria. So he doesn't right now answer this, what's special about Shabbos, but in general, Chassidus explains that during the week, so Atzilus is coming down to make a beer in the created worlds, to make an elevation in the created worlds. Whereas on Shabbos, so everything is revealed, its source in Atzilus. So you don't need to make such kind of a beer. So the presence of Atzilus in the created worlds is in a different way. That everything, you see how it's included in Atzilus, not how Atzilus has to come down here. So now we're asking another question. We were saying the whole time that the idea of mitzvahs is to draw down from Atzilus into here, but we see that it says in different places in Kabbalah that the idea of mitzvah is connected to specific levels of the created worlds, not necessarily to Atzilus. That says that when you do mitzvahs, the mitzvah of tzitzis, it makes an elevation in Yetzirah, and through Tefillin Shel Yad it makes an elevation in Bria. So how are you saying it's coming from Atzilus? It just means to say that through doing the mitzvah, you're making an elevation in the lowest levels of Yetzirah and in Bria, through drawing down from Atzilus. In other words, the mitzvah themselves is from Atzilus, but what it accomplishes is that it makes an elevation in the created worlds according to which mitzvah you're doing. That's where the elevation is taking place, in the created worlds. Just like by Kriyas Shema, that on the one hand it says that it accomplishes, that it connects Chachma and Bina Atzilus, and nonetheless it says you should sit down when you say Kriyas Shema. Why? because the idea of Kriyas Shema is to draw down light into Bria, which is called the Olam HaKisei, which is the idea of sitting down and his Yashvas. Huh?
Yeah.
So, which is it? Is it Chachma Bina V'Tzilas, or is it in Bria? That's the answer. That really it's coming from Chachma Bina V'Tzilas, but it's coming down to elevate the way you think, to elevate the world of understanding, which is in Bria. Where Shemona Esrei is not sitting down, it's standing up, because it means that you're going to Atzilus, not that you're bringing Atzilus to us. And he brings another proof that there's a difference between where the mitzvah is coming from and what it's accomplishing, because in Tilas Yadayim it says that it corrects the lowest levels of Asiyah, the Nihi of Asiyah. But we know that the idea of the Yadayim, of the hands, is Chesed and Gevurah. So which is it? So obviously it's really that it comes from Atzilus. It's just that it refines and elevates even the lowest level of Asiyah. Okay. And so too we see by tzitzis that the idea of tzitzis encompasses your head and your chest, meaning it's the highest part of you. And tefillin shel yad is called moichin. And nonetheless, even though the mitzvahs are done with the very high part of the person, it says that it elevates only the lowest part, only the nihi. So it must be because really the mitzvahs are coming from Atzilus, they're coming from a very high level, but they come down to elevate even the lowest level. So even though the mitzvah is only an action, which is not which you might think is only a low thing, it's not such a great thing. Nonetheless, it draws down from a level called Asiyah Shabbatzilus, so the action of Atzilus. What's the action of Atzilus? That's Malchus of Atzilus. That's the way that Hashem is the creator of the world, that He comes down to act with us. And through your actions, you're connecting to Hashem, how He's acting with us. Shehi Chitzonius, which even though that's the lowest level of Atzilus, but it's still Atzilus, it's still Hashem, the way that He's the creator of the world. And this we see in general, that the levels of Talis Katan and Talis Gadol and Tefillin are different levels of development of the person, which means that it's drawing down from Atzilus into these levels, into levels of Ibur Yanika and Moichin of the person. So that's the idea, that the mitzvahs draw down from Atzilus into from Asiyah Atzilus, even into the lowest levels of our world.